Hey guys, Rukshan here, and welcome to another episode of the Opposition Podcast. This is episode 9, and no, Avi has not transitioned into an Asian. That is actually his cameraman, Benji, who is here in place of Avi. Where's your boss, Benji?
Yeah, unfortunately, Harvey's kind of running a bit late. Traffic is shit in it because, apparently there was a car crash that happened in the M1, and he's been driving for 2 hours. He told me.
I think this is try to avoid using cuss words, Avi. I'm sorry, Benji.
No. I am literally Avi. I'm just a different shade of gray.
Yeah.
You know me?
So, guys, we are waiting for Avi to come. He'll be here in about 5 to 10 minutes, but the show must go on regardless of him being here or not. So today we've got some very interesting topics that we're going to be covering. As always, this is being simulcast on multiple platforms. So if you're not seeing some of the comments that are coming up on the screen and you're wondering where that's happening, that's because this is on multiple platforms, including Facebook, Rumble, X, and a few others as well. If you want to leave a comment, just put Q and a question mark prior to writing the comment, just so we can filter through. And then that way we'll put up some of your comments. Just be mindful that if you are making comments, it could end up on the screen with your picture next to it. So, even you trolls out there, if you're making comments, you might end up on the screen. But without further ado, while we wait for Ravi, Benji, is there one more thing that you want to say? Just use your chance to talk. You want to tell us something about Avi? Don't tell us too much.
Oh, you want to know how I really feel about working with him? Yeah.
Is he a good boss?
Yeah. Obviously, definitely.
This guy,
think about that for a while.
This guy just wants to keep his job. Anyway, guys, thank you again for joining in on another episode of the Opposition Podcast. Today with us, we have a very special guest, someone who has been in the political field in our state of Victoria for a very long time. And I was just having a chat with him off air, and he's telling me he's been with the Liberal Party before they, backstabbed him, betrayed him, I'm not sure, but he's been with both for 40 years, a member of the Victorian Liberal Party. And now he is running for Family First in the upcoming election when that happens, the federal election, Senate.
That's
the one, correct?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
And this is, of course, none other than Bernie Finn. Bernie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rukshan. It's great to be here. It really is a delight to be here in such esteemed company. And I thought we were going to get both esteemed company, but I've got you for the minute, so we'll make the most of that.
What's wrong with Benji?
Well, Benji's a great man. I've worked that out already. Very quickly. I've worked that out.
Benji's probably even better. That's why until he arrives.
Benji's the one who does all the hard work. Let's face the
That's
facts.
right.
He's the one behind the camera, getting in people's faces and really,
right.
becoming very obnoxious. That's important.
I tell you why I'm still not well known within Rebel News and this little crew that we have here. It's because I haven't got arrested yet. Daniel, our security guard, he's more famous than me.
He's been arrested?
Yeah, he's been arrested.
Oh, okay.
You haven't seen all of our work during COVID?
Well, not all of it. I saw a lot of it, but you did a lot. I mean, very hard to keep up with
We're actually going to get to that, but I wanted to know from you, Bernie, long time in the Liberal Party, and obviously people that have followed your story here in Victoria, you are someone that is both loved and also controversial to some, and also hated by some.
Oh, absolutely loathed by some. Yeah,
absolutely loathed. Yeah. And you're not someone that shies away from controversy either, like many other people in the Liberal Party. What's happened over the last, almost 40 years? You're saying you've seen a lot. You've seen a transition of the Liberal Party.
Yep.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, the Liberal Party that I joined was very, very different, or is very different to the party that threw me out last year.
Can you clarify?
When I joined the Liberal Party, there was a respect for freedom of speech. There was a respect for freedom of conscience. There was a respect for basic freedoms that I always thought were paramount, that were sacrosanct. Now, what we saw at the beginning of last year was the Liberal Party opposing the legislation which threw the right of conscience and a whole range of other rights out the window. That disgusted me. I crossed the floor on that one. I just couldn't bring myself to vote for that, even though the Liberal Party had decided they would do that. But I'd seen the Liberal Party turn into a party that really didn't believe in anything at all. And we saw that in the lead up to the federal election, the state election, last year, where, Matthew Guy was going along with Andrews on just about everything.
Yeah.
And
Labour Light, is that the...
Well, it was Labour Light, but I think it was almost an extension of the Me Too movement. Andrews would say, we're having net zero, and Guy would say, me too, and they were just going along with everything. And I just couldn't do that. I couldn't support that. And obviously it got to the point where they had to throw me out. But certainly the party, the Liberal Party now, certainly in Victoria, is not the party of Bolty. It's not the party of Kennett, not the party of Menzies, because it does not have the ability to respect other people's opinions. I mean, John Howard talks about the broad church. Hey, not in Victoria. Just ask me. Just ask Moira Deeming.
Yeah. On Moira Deeming, obviously you've seen that from both sides.
Yes.
In the fact that you've been a part of the Liberal Party machine for a long time, and then you've seen them treat you in a certain way, oust you from the party. Moira Deeming's journey is a little bit different. She's still, there, despite those issues. What type of advice do you have for her? From what you've gone through with the party, what would you tell her? Should you just dump the party and leave, or stick in there?
That would be my suggestion. I really don't think that, despite her best intentions and her respect for the party, because she is a Liberal, and she's a real Liberal, not like some of these people, the James Newberrys and people like this of the world like that, who don't believe in the principles that the Liberal Party was founded on. Moira Deeming is actually a real, genuine Liberal. So I suppose that puts her in danger to begin with.
Yeah.
So then I just say to Moira, really, this mob are not worth sticking with. We have other opportunities in other places to have an impact. I've decided to go with Family First. Family First is a party that I can believe in and believe with almost 100%. In fact, I can't think of anywhere where we actually disagree. I'll be fighting hard in the lead up to the Senate election. Yeah. I'm going to be going in hard fighting for families, because there aren't many people who do. Yeah. In this country, if you're a mum and dad and kids, you're down the back of the bus. You don't get a look in, and that's just not good enough. Yeah. And you just have to see what's happening with the power prices at the moment. I mean, the average family is being sacrificed on the altar for emissions and all these climate change nonsense.
Yeah. Well, we had the gas ban, right, in Victoria. The gas ban. So we have a lot of international viewers watching as well. If you're watching on Rumble, sorry we can't see your comments, but in our state of Victoria, the government's decided to cut gas for new homes at the moment. It's something I believe at the moment. Yes. I believe in the future they will probably tax existing households, so it makes it more convenient for them to transition because they'll save money. These kind of things that we're seeing, these initiatives, you touched on it, it impacts the family.
It does, absolutely.
I think we don't realize from our day-to-day lives that a lot of the things the government does, at the end of the day, the people who are hardest hit is the family.
Yep, totally. And I mean, without
the working class, right?
Without families, without people who go out to work, look after their kids, send them to school, put food on the table, without those people, we've got no future. And what concerns me more than anything else, and this is something that has troubled me enormously over the last year or two, is that I don't see, the way we're going, I don't see any future for Australia. I mean, I have.
That's pretty dark.
It is very dark. Yeah. I am a very optimistic person. I mean, I've been in the Liberal Party for 41 years in the western suburbs of Melbourne. You've got to be an optimist in that sort of situation. But I just don't see any future for Australia the way we're going. Now, I had a choice. I could have gone up to Queensland and sat on a beach for the rest of my days. And that was surely very, very tempting, I've got to tell you. But on the other hand, I see where Australia's going, and I've got to stop it. Yeah. I've got to try and stop it. Yeah. And if I don't, I'm not just letting my own family down, I'm letting every other family down. And that's, I think, something that, if I've got an opportunity to do it, I've got to. Yeah, I've just got to. I can't walk away.
Yeah. I mean, there is a tendency, I get what you're saying, like with everything that's happening, people do sometimes give up. And even politicians, I've seen them throw the towel in.
Yes, oh,
right?
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
You keep popping up, you keep battling, and people might be wondering why you are so early. There's been no election called as such, but you're getting ready for the battle very early.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to be hitting the ground very soon. I'm in Warrandyte on Saturday, supporting our candidate for the Warrandyte by-election, and I'll be travelling the state over the next however long it takes. Whether it's the elections in April or October or whatever it is next year, I will be travelling the state. Country, city, everywhere over the next however many months it is, just to make sure that I'm aware of what people need and families need, and to tell them what they need to drag themselves up, because there's a hell of a lot of people in this country who have given up, who think there is no hope. That's not good for anyone.
Yeah,
that's not good for anyone at all, and that's something that has to change.
There seems to be a lot of despair in Victoria, and my personal opinion is a lot of it revolves around our Premier, Daniel Andrews, whether it's, crushing the dreams of sports athletes with the Commonwealth Games, whether it's crushing the hopes of workers with these like vaccine mandates and all the crazy stuff they did during that time. He seems to have a stranglehold on Victorian politics, but recently it's a bit kind of the shine is worn off. And I am sensing a bit of a shift in terms of how the media treats him, the stories, even his inner circle. There seems to be not that kind of headstrong support for him. I don't know. There's a bit of a shift happening. Do you see that?
I do see that. Yes, I do see that. I think the gloss has come off a bit, and I think blokes like Andrews, when they hit the wall, it is spectacular. It is sudden. It is spectacular. It is something that is well worth seeing. And I think it's going to happen.
A lot of people thought he was going to get booted out in the previous state elections, but
the thing is, he had no opposition. He had no opposition. I mean, you had the Liberal Party agreeing with him on everything. You had Matthew Guy, who was disliked by the electorate in a way that I haven't seen a politician disliked for a very long time. I mean, the Liberal Party, what a brilliant move it was. They had Michael O'Brien there, who was just starting to get some likability about him in terms of the electorate. They were just starting to warm to him a little bit. So they knifed him and they put in Matthew Guy, who the electorate loathed. And they got the result that they deserved. I mean, what sort of a strategic move was that? You put in somebody that everybody hates. Not clever.
So at least Matthew Guy supports Ukraine.
That's a good thing.
I think your boss is here, Benji. You might need to.
Right.
Yeah, he's knocking on the door.
Being attacked from the street. That's the other possibility, of course. But that's the thing. I mean, Daniel Andrews. He's a very, very good politician. Not a leader's bootlace, I might tell you.
Yeah.
But a very, very good politician.
Yeah.
But he's had no opposition.
Yeah.
He's had Dennis Napthine, who's hardly God's gift to charisma, and he's had Matthew Guy twice. I mean, how lucky does a bloke have to be?
Yeah, it's been easy.
Is it any wonder that he's that he's the Superman of Australian politics? I could be the Superman of Australian politics if I didn't have any opposition. It's easy.
100%.
Speaking of Dan Andrews.
What happened? Where were you?
I just spent, and you're lucky you're not in Parliament because you would be copping it right now
I'll bet.
2 hours down the M1. Well, I had to get off the M1 to get here, which usually takes 40 minutes.
Yep.
2 hours. Why? Because there was a crash early this morning. This morning.
God, strike. Yeah. It's just a bloody joke, isn't it?
I'm sorry for being late.
Yeah.
It's not that I was trying to avoid you. I was actually trying to avoid Rukshan. And I tell you now, because I seen that he put Benji on, and I was living in fear.
Dude,
I probably got 4 speeding tickets now in this last 10 minutes.
Mate, you should have heard what he said off air. You should have.
That's true.
Fortunately, I've taken notes, which is good.
Thanks for coming in, by the way.
That's a very great pleasure. Good to see you again.
Now, I think I know where you guys are at.
Yeah, I mean, we're just chit-chatting about Vic politics, Bernie's long career, obviously, and his experience and some of his thoughts about what's happening in our state. Of course, our man, Daniel Andrews. But do you have anything to add on to that?
I thought let's go straight into it. Let's talk about what happened over the weekend because I think you touched on Moira redeeming, and now they're going for the next one. They knocked Moira off, but now they're going for Renee.
Yes, they will. Yeah. Yes, well, they've already tried to get Renee. Of course, if you recall, Matthew Guy didn't like the church that she went to, so he was going to kick her out of the party, but he got kicked out instead. So she came into the party. But don't worry, that she's on the list. There is a hit list in the Liberal Party. She's on it.
The list of Liberals they want.
Absolutely.
The real Liberals they want to get rid of.
It seems to be women at the moment.
Seems to be, yes. Yeah. Does seem that way.
Do you identify as a woman? Is that where you started?
I might have to start. Apparently, there's a lot to be said for it. I'm not sure, but
you'd make a very pretty one.
Oh, thank you. That's very decent. I've always worried about him.
So. Over the weekend, we were both there.
We were at the so-called.
We were at this so-called
far right gathering. Freedom. No, it was actually a freedom gathering.
They called it a far right freedom gathering.
Any Nazis there?
No, it was run by a Jew.
Yeah,
okay. Morgan's Jewish. Yeah. Did we just out him? He's actually Jew. So it was run by a Jew, but they called it a far right freedom thing. Isn't it crazy that it's the far right fighting for freedom now?
Everything is the far right, and it is just insane that if you stand up and you talk about things that are so basic to our freedom, you're all of a sudden a Nazi or something. You're a far right wing lunatic just because you talk about freedom of speech or freedom of religion or freedom of assembly or freedom of association. These things that are so basic to our society, you talk about that and you're a nutcase and they put you to one side.
No, because
what's going on in this country?
Yeah. No, because Hitler was totally into all those freedoms.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, wasn't he? Yeah,
freedom of movement.
Everything.
Freedom of religion.
Yeah. Oh, just
freedom of speech.
I mean, this nutbaggery. I mean, the old story that says the first person to mention Hitler loses, and I think that's good. I think it's a very, very good way to look at it, because if you have to reach into your bag and pull out a piece of mud, let us say, and throw it at it with the word Nazi in it, well then, if that's the best you can come up with, if that's the only thing you can come up with, you haven't got much going for you.
Bernie, I want to ask you, is there rules in the Liberal Party where, because that event we went to, that was like a gathering, different people were speaking. Obviously, Renee, her father was speaking. That's why she was there, which makes sense. That you're a daughter, you're going to go to an event.
Of course.
I mean, this is Australia.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean you can't go to an event where your dad's speaking because you're in the Liberal Party. I mean, that sounds crazy to me.
Yeah,
regardless of any rules or whatever they have, right? That sounds ridiculous. First off, but there was Senator Babette was there from the UAP. There were other people from different political parties. Obviously, the Freedom Party that Morgan's a part of, they're there. Me and Avi were there speaking. There were other people there speaking as well. What's with the Liberal Party, even just an event like this where they let Andrews basically gaslight them into going after their own, just for being involved in a community event?
Yeah, well, it's exactly what I was saying before, that the Liberal Party no longer believes in the principles on which it was founded. And that's the bottom line. I mean, Menzies would be turning in his grave. He would be if he hadn't been cremated. But he would be turning in his grave at the Liberal Party today. And, I know that, Menzies back in the 70s, before he died, he voted DLP in the last couple of elections because he thought the Liberal Party had gone to hell in a handcart, and back then it most certainly had. And it has again. It has again. This party where if you say things that a few years ago were traditional Liberal views, you say them now, they throw you out. It's just extraordinary. And is it any wonder that they, particularly here in Victoria, that they're a basket case? They're unelectable. And you can't tell me that John Pesutto is going to last the distance. And what is even more extraordinary is that Matthew Guy is hanging around in the shadows waiting to come back.
Really?
For the third time. How many hidings can this bloke take?
At least he's consistent.
Well, he is
consistently
loses. Yes.
But what we saw over the weekend, let me just understand, as somebody that was an insider, she attended this event, which was nothing, the age and the usual suspects come with their articles, outrage headlines, Nothing like that. The event wasn't really what they portrayed it, but what do we expect? They ran this headline, Daniel Andrews wakes up, amazing, makes, in the press conference, has a go at him, says the Liberal Party, you see, they're far right. I just find that so funny every
but
time.
compared to Andrews, everybody's far right.
but it's like they take their orders from Daniel Andrews because then he says that, and then straight away the Liberal Party is like, oh yeah, this is horrible. Yeah, we're really trying to sort of. So, is it a fair assessment to think that actually Daniel Andrews runs the Liberal Party of Victoria?
It seems that way.
But when you were in it, what's the from the inside? What's the experience? Or being in the upper house, do you not have the same sort of?
No. We have. I mean, I sat in the party room, and I sat in the party room for a very, very long time.
So
and
tell us.
for the last 12 months, I was wondering what the hell was going on, because this was not the same Liberal Party that I had been a part of for a very, very long time.
So the party room itself, what does it do? Do they meet once a week?
It meet every sitting week.
Yep.
And they decide their position on legislation and discuss issues. Well, sometimes they discuss issues, not very often actually. But
you mean they say what their official the policy of the Liberal Party?
Generally speaking, that's done by the shadow minister in conjunction with the leader.
Yep.
So the backbench doesn't get much say on that sort of thing at all, which I've got to say is very, very annoying, or was very, very annoying to me. But the party room gathers, they debate the legislation and vote one way, yay or nay, and we support it. And then if we vote to support it, we're all expected to support it, or the other way. But as I say, there was some legislation in the last 12 months that I was there where I just couldn't support. You know?
We witnessed that.
And I crossed the floor for the first time in my life. I crossed the floor, the only time in my life, in fact, I crossed the floor. And again, on the mandates, the MP's mandates, I wanted to cross the floor again. And I was taken outside, literally taken outside by the leader and the deputy leader of the Liberal Party in the upper house.
So that would have been in the upper house.
Yeah, David Davis and Georgie Crozier.
Yeah.
And I was threatened. I was cajoled. I was. It was a pretty lively discussion in Queen's Hall, I have to tell you. And in the end, I abstained. I should have crossed the floor, but I abstained.
Do you regret that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I should have.
Why do we see so many? Because we've seen that in even when you look at people like Tony Abbott. I feel like he for sure regrets his time as Prime Minister, where it seems like he just cowered.
Yep.
Why does that happen?
Well, I think it's people in positions of power. They have to deal with people that they don't agree with. Now, like Tony Abbott would have people like Simon Birmingham and people like that in Canberra, Christopher Pan, and people like that who are of the left and would be more than likely in the left of the Labor Party if they were actually in the Labor Party. So, how do you try and keep it all together? I mean, the temptation, and in the end I succumbed to that temptation, is to blow the whole thing up. Yeah. Because, if you've got people on the left, you look at them and you say, hey, you could join the Labor Party, you could join the Greens. What the hell are you doing here? Why are you here? And I'm still waiting on an answer from some of them. And
I suspect I know why they're there.
Well, yeah. Well, I suppose there is that strong possibility that they white-handing the joint.
Absolutely.
But
they're there to make it all Labor. And they're successful.
Yeah, but there are some senior Liberal front benches in Victoria. One I can think of in particular, who regards himself as a great Liberal. And he is to the left almost of Daniel Andrews. Is
that possible? Is there a left to Daniel?
Well, he's just a left. He's very left, but this bloke is almost as bad. And it's just appalling that the Liberal Party is supposed to stand for certain things. Its base believes in certain things. That's the reason people vote for them. And they stand up and they support other things. Like, supporting the net zero thing with Andrews. Just insanity. Why the hell did they do that?
But that's why I say to you, it all feels like it's Daniel Andrews runs both parties and he's got his own stooges there. And that's why it feels like that. But I guess when we go back to, let's say, over the weekend with Renee, my question for me and probably those at home watching this is that How does that function in the morning? So over the weekend, The Age and whatever media ran the outrageous headlines targeting her, obviously putting pressure, trying to put pressure to kick out the one conservative left. Daniel Andrews runs with it. And then what happens in that part? When is the party room meeting? When does that happen? Is that on the Monday?
Well, there would have been a party meeting. Well, it hasn't been since the weekend.
Oh, there hasn't been one since then.
They haven't. The House didn't sit this week, as I understand it. But I assume that they're going to be sitting next week, and there will be a party meeting.
And what will happen
Tuesday
with
morning.
Regards to that?
Well, that depends. That depends on the leadership. There has to be a motion or discussion put up. As to what people want done, and if somebody wants to expel her or censor her or whatever, censure her or whatever, then that will happen if the numbers are there. So we'll see what happens next Tuesday. But Renee's been in the gun. We all know that Renee's been in the gun. She knows that she's been in the gun for quite some time. I mean, from the day she was pre-selected. Just the same with Moira Deeming. From the day she was pre-selected, she was in the gun.
I'll tell you something. I met her on the weekend. I didn't actually know who she was when I met her. I'm ashamed about that. But
this is Renee?
Renee, yeah, she was really nice and genuine and sweet. She was like, what they're trying to do to her, it's just a bunch of bullies. That's how it feels.
Absolutely.
Now, I know that you have to take a 5-minute break.
I do.
About now.
I've got to go and speak to some of my confreres in family first.
No, that's
and I'll
we've
get
planned for that.
Get back to you very shortly.
Thank you. So, Rukshan, though, you did plan something in this period.
Benji can fill in for me if you like.
Yeah. No, we've had enough, Benji. I've got someone coming in via the phone.
We've got him.
Yeah, and I think he's in Dubbo. He's traveling around the country, so I'm going to try to bring him in here.
Let's bring him in because that's a great way to.
Let's try this.
Otherwise, we have to go with Benji, and that was almost. I heard him swearing and everything.
He's in close.
Oh, here we go. Oh.
Can you hear us, Matt Lawson?
Matt, do you want to stand back from your?
I can hear.
Is that causing the problem?
You can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can't hear him.
No, I can hear him.
I haven't got him.
Hello? No. I think his internet's
just... I can hear you guys loud and clear.
You can hear us?
Yep.
We probably should have tested that before. Are we live
We're live now, yeah.
Have we got... is all the feeds running again?
Yeah, we're live.
We want to apologise for that.
Sorry, guys. We're back.
Can they hear Matt?
Yeah.
Can they hear him?
He's very low. Matt, what's going on? Where are you?
I'm in Dubbo, out in the middle of nowhere.
You can hear him.
Can
you hear him? I can't hear him, so you tell me.
Yeah, and what are you up to? So you're walking around Australia. You started in Victoria. That's right, yeah?
Yep, started in Melbourne, walking through to Brisbane to raise awareness of jab injuries, just that the compensation scheme's running out in February, and there's a lot of people struggling to get compensation. So we're all getting censored, as you guys know. So just trying to get the information out there to as many of these country towns as I can.
Yeah, and what's it been like as you're walking down and meeting people from town to town? What's the reception been like for what you're doing?
Yeah, the reception's been really good. I think if we'd done this 2 years ago, or while the rollout was happening, it would have been a pretty poor reception. But now people are very open to having conversations. I think pretty much everyone I've spoken to in each town knows someone that's been affected in some way by these jabs. And having a lot of conversations about, whether people would have got it if they weren't sort of pushed towards it or coerced. And, the conversations have been great. More than anything, it's just getting people connected again because there's been a big divide in society. So wanting to sort of bridge that gap.
No, that's fair enough, man. I think, a lot of mainstream media, a lot of our politicians, our elected officials in government, they rarely speak about this issue, right? They're usually just gaslighting the public when it comes to this particular topic. And we have a few senators and a few politicians that bring it up here and there. But, I think this grassroots approach to raising awareness is a good thing, right? That's what you're doing, right? This is grassroots, getting out there amongst the people and actually hearing their stories firsthand. So what do you plan to do after you finish doing this walk? How many more days are you walking for?
So I've been walking for 26 days. I've covered about 800 kilometers, just over 800. And I'm very careful. I'm not these people that's an anti-vax person. All my family's vaccinated. My children have had all the vaccines. It's really just to make people aware that while most people have been okay after having their vaccines, some people were injured and they've lost functionality and they can't work. They're struggling to get compensation.
We just
because
need to
the
be very
government schemes
careful
are
here.
quite hard to sort of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
Avi was just
let's-
saying.
let-
Can
just-
you hear Matt now, Avi?
I can hear him here. Just
Yeah, yeah.
make sure.
Of course,
that
we're being very careful around
Yeah.
this censorous issue, Matt.
This is
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, you know how it is. But what I wanted to ask you was, how can people now support you and keep in touch with you on your journey as you're doing this? How can people find out what you're up to and where you're going to be appearing next as you do this epic walk?
Yeah, no worries. The easiest way, on Instagram, I've just got matt.lawson photography, and on Facebook, if they just look up the long walk for injury awareness, that's the easiest way to do it. And I totally understand the censorship. And I actually just wanted to say a huge thank you to you guys for having me on. It is very difficult to talk about it. We know that channels get pulled off air and everything else. So it's really special that you guys have actually said, look, we'll give you some airtime. A lot of the country newspapers are doing really great articles about it. So we're just really being quite moderate in our messaging. I'm not one of these people that's loud, screaming and yelling. I just want to get the message out there that there are people struggling to get the recognition of what's happened and the compensation as well. And that's really all it's about.
Yeah, no. Look, when we saw you doing this and you were talking to us online, we were like, yeah, we should have Matt on because, people. These are the things that we have to do at a grassroots level, right, to raise awareness of this issue. It's crazy that we have to do this, but thank you again, Matt, for doing what you're doing. How are the shoes holding up? Are you using the same shoes every day? You got a few different pairs to switch between?
Yeah, I've got about 3 different pairs. The legs were a bit sore in the first few days, but just the body's acclimatized. So I'm just going to continue soldiering along. And as I say, yeah, very grassroots, pretty much just below the radar. And yeah, just wanted to let people know that we're out there. And if you're in any of the towns we're passing through from Dubbo up to Brisbane, come out and say good day.
Perfect. Thanks, mate. Thanks. All the best, and take care of yourself as you're walking up there. Take care, mate.
No.
all right.
All right.
Technical issues.
Yeah,
I think
technical issues.
you're-
We're all switched around, guys. Let's fix this up now.
Fix the screen.
Fix the screens.
I can't believe you crashed the whole system.
Yeah.
There we go.
Harvey's back in his proper camera. Let's see if I can get
I'll
my.
get
Oh,
two.
there's two
Oh,
others.
double. I reckon that's. Guys, tell me in the comments here whether you vote for double Harvey. Everybody's going to say double Rukshan. So just before Bernie comes in, is he ready? Is he ready? Bring him back in. There we go. Perfect timing there.
Yeah.
Bernie, we crashed the whole system while you were
crashed the
gone
whole
because
system.
we
now,
tried to bring somebody in who was
now we're trying to
walking
fix
around
it.
Australia. Now we're fixing it.
Yeah.
Fixing that double Bernie.
Double
that's
Bernie,
good.
that's it.
Yep. How's that
Oh,
sound?
there we go.
No, you're Rukshan now, Avi. So we got to fix that.
No, I identify as Rukshan. All right.
You can identify as whatever you like these days.
There
Yeah,
we go.
so
Are
there
you
you go.
ready? And have you got those things still up, or is that all crashed now?
I don't know. I'll slowly bring Look, Bernie Finn's here. We got to fix this up
Why
as
am
well.
I I'm Bernie. Wow. Oh, there we go. That's
That's confusing.
No, the system really
Someone's-
did crash.
someone
when
Is
you-
that- is that a fact?
Our system, everything just crashed. So
because we were bringing in somebody, what's Matt Lawson, who's walking.
whatever internet he's using just crashed our whole system.
I know.
I think he was using something from like the early 90s.
This is going to get the conspiracy theories on. The conspiracy theorists are going to love it. So, I guess we wanted to pivot more towards, the last couple of years. So your last couple of years in Parliament. How long did you serve in Parliament?
I was a member of Parliament for 23 years. I was spent 7 years as the member for Tullamarine in the lower house, and was given a holiday by the electorate when Jeffrey left, and I was re-elected 7 years later in 2006, and stayed there until December of last year, where I missed out by 210 votes. If 106 people had voted the other way,
because I remember watching. It was very close.
It was very close, and in an electorate of over 500,000 people, to lose by 210 votes is a bit like, I suppose, losing by a point after the siren. and
painful.
It is painful. So I know that for a fact too. But
who took the seat at the end?
I'm sorry?
Who took that seat?
The Liberals.
The Liberals.
The Liberals, yeah.
So Labor got another seat.
Well, yeah, they did. I mean, the thing is, the Liberals took my seat, or took the seat that I was hoping to get, on Cannabis Party preferences. So
Isn't that funny?
Work that one out.
So yeah, in the last couple of years that you were there, things got pretty wild here in Victoria.
They did.
You did.
They did
You
very much so.
You were there at some of those protests. I remember I interviewed you a couple of times. Now, I think what we were going to move to was how many of those protests did you actually attend?
I attended, I think 3 or 4 from memory. I spoke at one of them, and I just attended as a foot soldier on other occasions. But they were just the most impressive days. Huge numbers of people. I remember getting up on the truck in Spring Street, and whichever way I looked, down Burke Street, you couldn't see where the people stopped.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this has to be the biggest rally that's ever been held in Melbourne. It was absolutely
You
extraordinary.
sure there wasn't just 100 people there?
Well,
That's
no,
what-
I absolutely guarantee.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, you would need to be, you'd need to have more than double vision to say there was only 100 there, because it was absolutely Spring Street, Burke Street, far as the eye could see, absolutely jam
But
packed.
speaking on the media, a lot of people had a lot of different opinions. Like recently, you did a podcast.
So this week, I think you and Neil Mitchell get on well.
We get on all right, yeah.
So this week I sat with him for a long form podcast for an hour or so. And one of the issues that came up that I thought we'll bring up here, maybe play that 3 minutes or whatever it was of that clip. Let's play this. And I want to get your reaction, and also we'll show some other footage to it. Are you bringing that up, or
we'll bring it
you're
up.
bamboozled from? Oh, here we go. To listen to you, I think through COVID, I probably swore at you a few times.
Oh, a lot do.
But I know, but I think that the majority of the mainstream media, for whatever reason, and I don't know if the newsrooms were telling them don't, but they were being unfair. I saw you condemning the protesters.
I thought some of the protests were outrageous. Up at the shrine.
Yeah, but
Were you there?
you see, with the shrine, that's my...
Sorry, were you there that day?
Yeah, I was
Filming?
there at the shrine. Yeah, so I was covering that story. Yeah. And what I found interesting is, so Dean Lee would make a claim that they're urinating on the shrine, and everybody ran that as a headline. Did you see any evidence of that before running it?
I quoted him.
You quoted him. Yeah,
I'm happy to quote the shrine, whatever his title is, ahead of some bunch of bozos storming around the streets.
Okay,
I did see them jumping on the bonnets of innocent people on Westgate.
There was a few, and especially on that day, that were bad. But the people, I was there at the shrine that day. There was always a handful of nut jobs, and that's every protest, because it kind of attracts them. They want trouble. The majority of people weren't that. You were calling them bozos. You were calling them,
I stand by that.
You were calling them names, but that's not who they were.
Come on. You talk about media self-interest. What were those people? Why were they storming their own union office down at the CFMEU? Why were they jumping on top of innocent people's cars? Why were they trashing the shrine? Why were they insulting war dead?
3AW is the reason. 3AW is the reason that the CFMEU kicked off. Do you know how that happened? So I was there the whole day.
Yeah.
And what happened was, John Sector wouldn't come down. He came down early on, and then they were negotiating at the front. I was there watching it. And then John Sector went on, I think it was Tom Elliott, but I think actually, what's her name? She used to be your producer. Heidi
Murphy.
was filling in that day, and they were playing it on a speaker from the phone. They were playing it on a speaker, and he called them all a pack of Nazis.
Well, hang on. That's 3OW's fault. That's John Setker's fault.
Yeah, but nobody counted what he was saying. And they just ran that narrative for 24 hours.
But you just said an absurd. That is 3OW's fault. And here you are arguing for truth and honesty. There's truth live from John Setker, which happens to go through 3OW, and it's our fault.
No, but your fault. You're just like you.
You're censor it.
No, I'll tell you. No, but you're meant to ask questions. You're meant to go, how do you know they're Nazis? You're meant to go to Dean Lee. What, did you see somebody weighing on the thing? Because the only proof we have of anybody desecrating the shrine were police horses. There were so many live videos, and there's not one video, you're telling me, Not one video.
They certainly trashed it. You look at the garbage.
They were kettled. For 3 hours they were forced to be there. What do you want people to do when they're there? And I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying the majority that you call bozos were actually good, decent people that I met. And if you would have come down there and spoken to them, which the media that were there were not giving them the time of day. We were the only ones giving them the time of day. And if you spoke to them, you'd realise that they weren't Nazis. They were actually.
I didn't call them Nazis.
The media was for days after John Sector made that claim, and they weren't Nazis. In fact, do you know those protests were the most diverse I've ever seen? And I've gone to protests for years. They were the most diverse, mostly made up of ethnics, because ethnics had the guts to come out and actually do it. Many of them from countries that they feel like they ran away from this kind of authoritarian.
Would you seriously tell me there weren't groups within several of the protests? I don't know about that one specifically. The old the Trotskyites out there to stir things up, to cause trouble. The anarchists. We want trouble. We want blood in the street.
There were. There were Nazis also that attended, but that didn't define the group. That's the thing. The media always took. There was a picture of a few Nazis that everybody there would have hated, that were there, and they took a photo, and the media ran with that. They're all Nazis. It wasn't like that. And and the journalists that were there on the ground knew that, and they were just dishonest. You tell me why.
Tell me about leaving home at 14. Were you scared?
I love the pivot to a different subject. Look, I do like Neil. I have a soft spot for him. I think he's a gentleman. I think when he gets it wrong, I think he believes it. He believes it. But your reaction, firstly, to that in the context of being at those rallies, in the context of someone who respects, I assume you respect Neil?
Well, look, I've known Neil for 40 years. We worked together. We worked together at AW.
Did you work at AW?
I was there for 10 years. And
so you've been a pile of crap for many years.
Well, I have. That's it. That's it. And, as I say, I've known Neil and worked with Neil, and I like Neil, and I respect him as a journalist, and I don't always agree with him. But I think he did get it wrong on that occasion, because if he had come down and he had seen what I saw, and that was the great mass of people who were there were, as you described them, a great cross-section of the community, mums and dads, not that many kids for a change, but certainly mums and dads who were worried about their future. The sort of people that I'm aiming to represent now, people who've almost given up hope, or many of them have given up hope. But the great numbers of people, and I marched among them. Down Burke Street and up Swanson Street
Neil
and around
the place.
Bozo. Well, he can call me a bozo if he likes.
Do you think he thinks you're a bozo?
Oh, I don't know. He might. I don't know. But look,
I saw him each week.
Neil calls me names all the time.
But he had you and was it the Greens once a week? Oh no,
that was Fiona Patton.
Fiona Patton.
Yes.
You and Fiona Patton debating. It was probably one of the only interesting segments that I would listen to on Neil's since COVID.
Oh, don't be like that.
Since COVID.
Yeah, well, probably. Look, Neil has. I suppose, is of a certain age and has an audience that is similarly of a certain age, and he was playing to them.
Yeah,
and I did tell him that.
I did tell him I think it was his age. So we have a couple of videos from the exact events you're talking about, don't we?
Yeah, I can pull it up here.
Because the only two journalists that happen to be there reporting the truth are sitting in this room.
But I mean, if you get a whole mob of blokes from the CFMEU and you give them a few drinks, yeah, they're going to go berserk. Of course they are.
But the story I told him was the truth. Do you remember when that happened? Somebody was playing. It was right here at this point that we're watching.
Yeah.
And it was right then that 2 minutes before they started throwing the stuff here is when somebody from their phone, and they had the microphone, what are they called?
Megaphone. Yeah.
The megaphone to the phone, and it was John Sector calling them Nazis after they'd been standing there all day waiting for him to come down.
If he's stupid enough to do that, he should not have been surprised that he got the reaction that he did.
I think he may have known. Yeah. How could you not know?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, he knows his members, surely. He's been there forever. He knows his members. He knows how they're going to react. And I tell you what, if somebody called me a Nazi, I would react very badly as well. And if you've got all these blokes outside who are loyal, paid up members of the CFMEU, they hear their secretary calling them Nazis, they're going to react badly. And they did. They did. So, it's Setka's fault that happened. It's not anybody else's fault. It's not your fault. I don't even blame Neil Mitchell for that.
I got a bit of blame for that one, but I blame Rukshan.
Yeah, Rukshan.
I do blame Rukshan. I'll tell you why.
The fact of the matter is, it's Setka's fault. Yeah. He's the bloke who said it. He's the bloke who incited them. And if he had shut his mouth, if he had just gone along with what the point that he wanted to make, if he had not incited his own members, that wouldn't have happened.
Absolutely, I agree. And the other thing wouldn't have happened if Rukshan hadn't been there early, because it was a group of like 5 at first protesting.
There was very few people when I first started.
Rukshan rocks up there because Rukshan's just down the road, and he starts a live feed at what time was it?
Like around 8:30 in the morning. I got up out of bed. I saw this was happening. I walked out. I walked there, started live streaming, and then But again, I don't know.
Rukshan's being humble here. He doesn't want to get it. You can't get arrested anymore for incitement during that period. So
I did not incite anyone to do anything. I was just literally just filming and live streaming.
So he rocked up 8:30, started filming this small group protesting the mandates that were coming in. And what happened was, because everybody was tuning in to Rukshan's live feeds every day because there was nothing else to do. So word got around to the members that they're starting to rebel against the mandates. And off all the work sites close by, because I just watched them coming from all the work sites. They're like, oh yeah, we saw Rukshan's feed.
Nah, look, to be honest, it was during that same time when they were affecting these workers.
Oh, it was.
And these mandates were coming in. They were shutting down the industry. There was a whole lot of baloney going on. I think these people were reacting to that.
Yep.
They were, but that's why they were excited. As soon as they saw there was a protest, nothing was planned. It wasn't a planned protest.
No,
it was a small group started protesting. They saw there was a protest. They came, and then all day they waited, because at the front they were negotiating some sort of deal. It was the kind of deal. Remember what they were negotiating? The kind of deal that they were talking about was, they wanted John Sector to march with them to Parliament.
Yeah. And why didn't he?
Yeah. No.
Why didn't he? He's supposed to represent them.
Exactly.
Why did we?
But that's what they wanted. They said, we are paid members. They're targeting us. You need to lead us. Because the union was saying, why are you protesting us? It's Daniel Andrews. He goes, okay, so come lead us to Daniel Andrews. They were literally saying, when we come out in force, we make a difference. The government listens to us, especially our Labor government.
Yes,
listens to us.
You'd hope so. You'd hope so.
They do, and they were angry, and then they waited all day. They kept getting told in a minute, 5 minutes he's coming down. Then they hear he's on the radio. Then they play it, and then he calls them all Nazis, and that's what happened. And the shrine, when we talk about the shrine, and I made that point to Neil because he admitted that he reported that, and everyone reported that they urinated on the shrine, or at least that Dean Lee said they urinated on the shrine. But nobody questioned Dean Lee.
Yeah.
And
till this day, no evidence has ever been shown of people desecrating the shrine in terms of urinating on the shrine.
And how many live feeds?
They have cameras. They have cameras all over that.
Oh, they have cameras as well.
Of course, they have cameras around the shrine.
They have cameras all over the shrine. There was a million live feeds happening at the same time.
Yeah, I'm sure there was. Yeah.
And everybody was filming.
Look, I can imagine maybe some dogs or something. Some people had pets. I can imagine a dog inadvertently doing something like this.
Dogs do that.
Yeah. But
especially if you stop them from going anywhere else.
And the horses were doing that. The horses, we definitely have evidence of horses doing this. But just come out and just blame people as like the thing to shut them down in terms of the media. That's what they did.
Yeah.
Because effectively they were like, people were like pissing all over the shrine, when that's not really, there's no evidence that ever happened.
And unfortunately, that's the way these things start. Somebody makes an off-the-cuff comment, and the journos get hold of it. Oh, this is a good story. We'll run with that. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. I mean, the state of journalism in this country, I'm afraid, is not good. It is not good at all. And I've been around a while, and I started in radio when I was 17. And
he does have a radio voice.
Journos back then, they knew what they were doing. These days, not so much. And the truth doesn't seem to matter anymore.
No.
And I think that's really, really sad.
Mate.
And is it any wonder that people haven't got any faith anymore in the media if this is the sort of crap that they're going to be fed?
Yeah.
And they fight to uphold lies. Like you look at Heston Russell's case at the moment, where the ABC has dropped their truth defense in the defamation case. They dropped the truth defense and they're arguing just public interest. So what they're essentially saying in a court of law is,
they lied.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if we lied because it's a matter of public interest that we should be allowed to just say whatever we want.
The sooner the ABC is defunded entirely, the better.
Defund the ABC.
But it's not only
pull
the
the
ABC.
pull the plug on
They're
it.
pulling the plug off themselves on Twitter. They've taken themselves off X, which is, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's a step in the right direction. I think they just take themselves
All we need to do now is
off
get them off the air.
Take them off
Twitter, get them off the air. Yeah.
Take them off everything. But it's not only ABC. It's not only journalists. It's the entire fact-checking industry. Now I'm in court with RMIT over the same Dean Lee guy, and the funniest part is, in a week or so, I'll be able to tell people what's come out of it. But it is the biggest joke because, again, in court, they don't actually provide any proof of their fact checks. Even when you walk in with your story, I was the only one that bought facts. And it's very similar to the urinating on the shrine.
Yes,
The story was that Dean Lee, the same guy, made another claim, a claim that they cancelled the Rainbow Lights show on the shrine because they had been threatened. And the media ran with that. Nobody questioned.
Good story. Good yarn. Never let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then I went down there, and Rukshan, you were there because I was making fun of you in the video.
Yeah.
And I went down there and I caught, I got the head of what are they called? What are they called? The Victoria Police personal. What are they called?
I forgot.
Protection officers, whatever they're called.
Shrine protection
The
officers.
PSOs.
PSOs, So the head of the PSOs also manage the shrine for Victoria Police, and the head of that told us on camera. Well, I don't know if he knew it was filming, but he said, "Nah, they weren't threats. They were just hateful messages." And I also got police media in writing tell me, no, there's been no report of threats, no official report. We ran with that. The fact checkers fact-check us. The evidence was that Dean Lee, the same guy that I'm saying, he's just saying stuff. He's just saying stuff because he wanted to desecrate the shrine. He wanted to, and then to save face to the community and to be the victim of the situation. He said, "Oh, I'm cancelling it, not because I don't believe in shining the rainbow colours on things, but because there's bad, evil people that were going to attack us."
Well, I tell you what, some of those bad, evil people, as he called them, were the diggers.
They
because
were.
the diggers were ropeable, absolutely ropeable. And I spoke to some of the old blokes, and they would have gone in there, and they would have gone in. If they, give them half a chance, they would have gone in because they were furious.
Nobody sent them an actual threat. Yeah.
Well, mate, there's something I said many, many years ago, and it still holds true. History is made by those who get to the journos first. And it's as simple as that. Once you get it out there, it's very, very hard to turn it around. And you get to the journos, you tell them a yarn, they spread it around.
That's it.
That's it.
It becomes a narrative.
History is made. Whether it's true or not, history is made.
Yeah, and for the record, they're still arguing that there was a threat because Dean Lee said it, and now it's not a written threat. They say it's a phone call.
A phone call.
Suddenly, something we can't prove that they didn't have. That's where it's pivoted. In court, we subpoenaed everything, not one actual, real written threat. That suddenly it's a phone call that we can't prove didn't happen. And that's what the fact checkers of the mainstream media.
Who are these fact checkers? I want to know who they
University.
are. I want to know who they are.
And the funniest thing is we saw them, we through the litigation, we got to see their contract with Facebook.
That was a very interesting contract.
What do you reckon about it?
Oh, look, it's a very interesting contract because if it is the contract that they've signed, which I have no reason to doubt.
No, it is. It's from the court.
It's from the court, right?
They've tendered it.
So, they're literally in Australia, the fact checkers are getting paid around $800 per fact check that they do. So
really?
There's a financial incentive, and
Quotas.
There's a quota that they've
got to
I tell you what, if we let them loose on the Andrews government, they'd be millionaires. Because I tell you what, could you check some facts on the Andrews government? But the lies they tell.
But if you go to the RMIT Fact Lab and look at every fact check they did, it's targeting one side of politics, and it's the most arbitrary. It's most ridiculous fact checks to stories that are just ridiculous half the time. That, like that Dean Lee one. What was the motivation really to fact check it? Why? What was the misinformation? Was it real world harm? Let's say it was even false. Let's say the entire story was false. It wasn't medical misinformation. It wasn't electoral fraud. It was a story about us saying, I think this CEO, this person in power, is telling fibs.
Yeah.
And do you have proof that says otherwise? It says, when can't you challenge? Is it talking truth to power what journalism is meant to be?
It's supposed to be, but not anymore. You know, it's going with the narrative. It's going with the wokeness. It's if you're not with the crowd, then you miss out. This is what they think. And if you stand up against, and I know myself in politics, if you stand up against the narrative, you're going to cop it in the neck.
Yeah.
That's the tragedy of modern life.
Yeah, and one of the issues, Bernie, I'm getting a few questions here from people that have been following your work. One of the issues that you have been standing up against is on abortion rights and so on.
Yes.
And there are some things happening in WA as well. Some new
horrifying things happening in WA.
Can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, well, in WA, they decriminalised abortion back in, I think it was 1998, but they're going to take it further. This legislation, they are going to allow minors to have an abortion without the permission or indeed the knowledge of their parents. And I think that is way a step too far. I mean, that's not just an attack on tiny babies who are being killed. That's an attack on families. That's an attack on parental authority, and it's an attack on the rights of the kids who could be having an abortion, which can be a very dangerous operation. And people have to realise that. I mean, even Planned Parenthood in the United States lists as one of the side effects of abortion suicide. Now, that's on the form that you sign before they have the abortion. You acknowledge that suicide is one of the side effects, and we've got to be more careful about protecting people. What about the women who do commit suicide? What about the women who spend their lives in grief counselling? What about the women who never recover? And I've spoken to these people, some of them 40 years, more, 50 years after their abortion, and they're still in grief. It's just dreadful. I mean, I have seen the downside for women of abortion. Yes, abortion kills babies. There's no doubt about that, and that is the main reason why I oppose it, because just killing babies is just.
Is it are you coming at it from a religious?
No, biology. Biology.
Are you religious?
Look, I believe in God. I believe in God.
So I guess you're religious.
Yeah, I suppose that makes me religious. Yeah. But I tell you what, if my church turned around tomorrow and said we support abortion, I'd walk out.
But is that because you believe that God's against abortion? Or?
Yeah, well, he is, I believe.
I guess I'm trying to understand. Is it because you believe God's against abortion, or do you just believe that abortion is wrong on the simple act of it?
Well, I believe it's wrong because clearly, biologically, a child is killed, and that's wrong. And as a Christian, yes, I'm opposed to the killing of the innocent children. Just as back. Well, 200 years ago or 150 years ago, Christians led the charge against slavery. Christians now leading the charge against abortion.
Is that against an abortion at any point?
Yep.
So you believe from the beginning?
Yep. Once a child
exemptions?
No. Once a child.
I know the straw man argument is about rape, but you wouldn't even give.
Oh well, look, irrespective of the circumstances of the child's conception, the child is still a child. And once you accept that the child is a child, then you don't agree to killing them.
But what if you don't agree that scientifically they're a child till, let's say, whatever the first trimester or whatever it is?
What happens to the first trimester?
I don't know. Yeah. Scientifically, is it a child? Can it live outside? It couldn't live without outside of the womb.
Well, I mean, if you put a newborn baby on a bench and left it there,
it wouldn't
survive either. So you know the argument there is it's a pretty weak one, I've got to say.
But if you fed a baby, fine,
and if you allowed a baby in utero to continue to be fed and to continue to be protected by the mother, then that baby would be born and would grow up and would have babies of his or her own.
Look, I'll be honest. It's not an issue that I know in America it's like right wing.
It's huge.
For me, it's actually one of those issues that I don't have a particularly strong stance. I've always supported. I've gone to your yearly rally a few times.
March for the Babies, yes.
March for the Babies to cover it because one, that's my job, but two, also I believe in the right to everybody to stand up for what they believe in, and I hear both sides of the arguments, and I feel like sometimes on one side it sounds a bit extreme, and on the other it sounds totally bonkers, but. It's one of those issues. I guess I'm a bit more centrist.
There are a few extremities. Like I saw in the Parliament, they're putting through this Born Alive. They're trying to pass this Born Alive bill, and I thought that was quite interesting because there is this instance in Australia. I didn't know this was happening, where babies are born alive and they're left in cupboards.
It's called a failed abortion.
Failed abortions, and then the babies are left in cupboards. They're left in and I heard testimony from the nurses, and it's very disturbing how these children are just left there to die.
Yep.
So it's abortions, and then they can't give them any
medical care.
The baby is born alive instead of being killed because the aim of the abortion is to kill the baby, but that doesn't work. And the baby is born alive, and then the baby is just left of his own devices. And as I said before, if you leave a baby on its own, it's going to die.
And sometimes
so what's this law?
No,
it's horrible.
They want to make it so they have to provide some type of medical assistance to the baby, even if it's just to comfort them.
Who's this? Who's trying?
These are a number of senators.
Yeah,
Ralph Babette's one of them. Alex Antic is Matt Canavan.
It hurts me inside listening to this, knowing that happens without care at the moment.
I listened to the testimony from the nurses, and I don't normally get emotional about things. And the first time I heard the testimony from these nurses, I was just like, wow, there's people like nurses going through this issue. Because a lot of this information is being put forward by nurses that actually have to photograph these babies.
Yes.
And there was one particular story of a nurse photographing a baby, and when they flashed the camera, the baby's eyes opened up. But she couldn't do anything. She had to leave that baby.
Well, that's right. I mean, how, as a nurse, or as a doctor for that matter, how do you get a newborn baby, a newborn baby that's actually crying, and just put it on a table and walk away until it's dead? How do you do that? How do you do that? I don't understand that.
So
I think there needs to be reform in that area.
But that's happening in Australia.
There has to be reform.
By the sounds of things, an issue I haven't looked deeply into, but by the sounds of things, I don't care which side of the argument you sit on.
That's right.
But if you think that that's okay,
there's something wrong.
Sickening. How can you look at a tiny thing that has life in it?
Yep.
I can't even. You know what? I'm soft. I had a bird in a dove, which is like a rat of the sky in Australia.
Yes.
And a cat attacked it in my yard. I think it's still on my Instagram, like stories that I say. And I saw that thing, couldn't move, and I get grossed out by that type of stuff. And I called that hotline that's rescue animals, and they said, we actually have a vet down the road, and it was my dog's vet, so it's like, you can take it there. I go, what? They go, you got to take it there. I go, what? Why don't they come pick it up? They go, no, if you want to save it, you got to. And they told me over the phone, throw a towel around it. But I couldn't even watch this rat of the sky. Suffer.
Yeah.
But
Look,
I had to take it to the vet.
I remember years and years, and this is very, very early memory, when I went rabbit shooting with my grandfather. And we had he had a property down near Colac, and it was absolutely overrun with rabbits. So he would go rabbit shooting there frequently. And I went with him one day, and there was a mummy rabbit with a baby rabbit, and he shot the mummy rabbit, and I was very, very distressed about this. And I got the baby rabbit, and I cuddled it and took it home.
You raised it,
and now the dog's got it. But
there was no happy ending.
The fact is, I tried. I tried, and that's. I mean, I just hate to see cruelty to anyone or anything. I mean, I just hate it.
You know what?
I just absolutely hate it.
You know, the end of my story was. Then the vet called me back 2 days later saying, "Hey, actually, it's not a native, and so they don't get funding for non-native."
That's what they say.
Yeah. So it has to be indigenous for us to care.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. So they go, "You've got two options. We can either put it down, or you can take it home, and basically you need to care for it for a few months until it regains its feathers. It will be all right though if you do that." And I ended up buying this castle of a bird cage, and we did it. And we brought it back to life and let it go. And I think a few weeks later, it tried to come back in our house while I had a visiting dog that almost ate it again. But it survived. It's a happy ending. Unlike you and your killer dog.
And it knew where to get a free feed. And that's really important. Really important.
That's it. Well, I'll just move on to one more issue if you got time.
He's got to leave.
He's got to leave pretty soon. Busy guy. So one more topic, and that is, of course, something that's the voice to Parliament. We discuss it almost every week now on this podcast because it is a topic that is being widely discussed in Australia. Recently, we have, of course, these comments from Anthony Albanese.
What's the difference?
Whether the Uluru Statement is...
Xi Jinping. Let's just call it Xi Jinping. Covers all of it.
Whether the Uluru Statement from the Heart is 1 page or 18 pages, or and a lot of this information is coming from the yes side. So these are conflicting statements, now if you actually question them, you are a conspiracy theorist. So I just got this little compilation to play for you guys for about a minute, just to give people a bit of an idea of what's happening here with this debate.
It is something that has been out there, like a whole lot of the QAnon theories. We have all sorts of conspiracy stuff out there, but this is a ripper. That is the Uluru Statement from the Heart on an A4 bit of paper. That is it.
So the Uluru Statement, many people don't know, is 18 pages long.
That is the Uluru Statement from the Heart on an A4 bit of paper.
So she's a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
It's not just the one-page invitation to the Australian people. It also includes what we call our story, which is an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander history of Australia.
They put in an FOI, and what they got was a whole lot of minutes from meetings.
And it's unfortunately one of the parts of the Uluru Statement that is not often read and overlooked. So those 18 pages include our story, so our history of our people.
With a whole lot of verbal statements from whoever to whoever.
And also a few pages about on the reform. Why do we want a voice? What will a voice do?
Nothing exposes the falseness of the arguments being put by the No campaign than this conspiracy theory and nonsense.
So I urge everybody, if they do have the opportunity, to look at the Referendum Council report and read that whole document, which we call the Uluru Statement from the Heart.
That is the Uluru Statement from the Heart on an A4 bit of paper. That is it.
What do you say?
I mean, when I'm watching that now, Megan Davis, the professor there, that's one of the architects of the Voice to Parliament, the Uluru Statement from the Heart. She has also come out with a statement saying, no, it's just 1 page. But there's multiple times where her and other people.
Well, she said it's 18. Is it 18 or is it 1?
Exactly. So we're hearing from them saying this, but now we're led to believe that if you question them, you are now a QAnon conspiracy theorist. This is where this debate has gone.
If you look at the polls, you will see that the people of Australia know that they're being conned, and they're not going to put up with it. And this whole thing is a con. It is just appalling. I mean, it's racist to begin with, to decide that you're going to support people on the basis of their race is racist, irrespective of whether it's for white or black or red or whatever. It's racist, and you can't get away with that. Not in this country. Surely to God, not in this country.
Absolutely. But I think the one other lesson that the Liberal Party should take note is, if you actually oppose for once, you can win.
Yes, I think. Well, Peter Dutton, he is the sole remaining hope for the Liberal Party. If Dutton doesn't win the next election, I think the Liberal Party's dead.
I just don't have hope for Dutton because I feel like he's going to give in.
No, I don't think he will.
You don't
think he will. I have a lot of faith in Dutton.
He's been through the fire.
He has been through the fire.
He looks like he's been through the fire.
And there's not much left, is there? And he's a pretty solid conservative. He's a genuine solid conservative, and he will stand up and fight for what he believes in. I think it's a good thing. Put it this way: if they had put Dutton in instead of Morrison when they ditched Buggerlugs, then
Turntable.
I'm trying desperately hard to forget his name. But if they had put Dutton in as Prime Minister instead of Morrison, the Liberals would still be in government. I've got no doubt about that at all.
Oh, well, on that note, I know you have to leave early. I want to thank you for coming. I apologise that Rukshan caused an accident on the M1 trying to stop me from getting here on time. I apologise for the vulgar language used by the other Yemini made in China.
Yeah. In Hong Kong. Oh, well, it is China.
It is China now.
It's too late. Sorry.
Very sad. But no, really, thank you. We've got to do this again.
Would love to. Yeah,
and good luck with your guys. Where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, Bernie Finn with a blue tick, or on my private one, which is again Bernie Finn. Surprisingly enough,
and you got to come on X, Bernie. You got to come on X. Twitter.
Well, yeah, I
it's a good game. We need more of you, Bernie.
My daughter said to me, and I'll blame her for this. My daughter said to me years ago, when she was still at school, she said to me, "Dad, don't go on Twitter. Don't go on Twitter. It's really, really bad. It's not good for your mental health to go on Twitter." And it probably isn't. But I know I've actually got it on the phone, but I'm yet to use it. But the temptation.
We'll both follow you.
Temptation is strong.
Definitely follow you.
If you join, we will follow you. That is our commitment, and we will retweet you. In fact, we've got an event. I got an event on the 27th of this month in Melbourne. You need to come down. Have you heard about my book?
I have heard about your book. I understand you've written a book. Yeah. I should have. I was just saying before. I should have bought a copy today and brought it in and got you to sign it for me. I'll tell you what. Get me in next time, and I'll do that. I'll go
Maybe
out and
I'll
buy
even
the
sign
book.
this one and I'll give it to you.
Wow, there you go.
Wait, not on the record.
What are you going to put up on the stand there?
Well, I don't mind. You can take. I don't want this book here. I'm sick of this book. So the sooner we can get rid of it, the better.
But we need you to. You should come on the 27th. I'll give you this book so you can read it before then. 27th
I will have to have a look at my
August,
diary.
We have. I like people and have to look at their diary. 27th of August.
I haven't had to look at my diary now for months and months and months. It's just starting again.
Rukshan had to look at his diary.
Yeah.
And he cleared his whole diary. In fact, he's coming to New Zealand with me.
Oh, really?
He's coming to Auckland, Wellington, and end of this month.
That's
25th,
right.
26th of August. 27th is in Melbourne. We would love to have you there. There's going to be some lovely people. I'm going to somewhere nice and central, not far from where we are now.
That is a Sunday. Is that the day after the by-election?
Is it the day
I think
after
it
the
is.
by-election?
I feel like it is, yeah.
Well, if I haven't been beaten up on the polling booths on election day,
You'll be there.
I'll be there. Yep,
All right,
absolutely.
there we go. There you go, guys. Bernie is just one of. I'm going to confirm with him, and then I'm going to make it an official announcement.
If that doesn't get the lefty riffraff out the front, nothing will.
We are going to have Rukshan. We've got Babette. We've got Morgan told me he's going to come, so we've got a few people coming.
Okay,
that's good.
It should be,
Good
it's
crowd.
a very interesting crowd, casual crowd. Ezra Levant is coming, my boss from Canada.
Ah, good.
So it'll be a nice evening. Check all the details, rebelfromthestart.com. Make sure to book in for that. Otherwise, 7 p.m. next week, we're doing it here, Rukshan.
Yeah.
And then in 2 weeks, we're going to have to do it from New Zealand.
Yeah, that's right. We were going to attempt to do a.
We'll do it with Ezra. Ezra will be our guest.
We're going to attempt to do it from New
What
Zealand.
do you mean attempt?
No, we're going to do it.
What do you think Chanel Lowell's going to shut us down?
Well, I'm going to say I'm very disappointed that you won't be doing it from CPAC.
When's
which is
CPAC?
next
When is
weekend.
CPAC?
Next weekend is
Yeah,
CPAC.
CPAC.
They don't
Sydney.
invite
They
conservatives
don't
like
talk
us.
to us.
Really?
CPAC,
Oh, they
CPAC,
just
yeah.
give them a
They may
call.
have. There's
Just give
probably
them a call.
it might be
No,
in my
Andrew,
inbox. I don't want to out it
No,
because it's probably in my inbox.
Warren's a good man. Warren Mundine,
Mundine,
good
he's a
man.
great
He's
guy.
the chairman.
Yeah.
Andrew Cooper, the director. Great people. Give
Yeah.
them a call. Tell
Give
them
them a
about
call.
it.
I'll probably look. I don't want to call them out because it may be in my emails of invitations that I just haven't responded to.
I'll make sure you get one next
So
year.
next weekend is CPAC in
Sydney.
In Sydney.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep. Which I'm particularly looking forward to. I love it every year.
Amazing.
A great
Well,
weekend.
I might be able to go next year. This year, next week is out of the question. But 2 weeks we'll do it in New
It'll
Zealand.
be in Auckland, I think.
But we'll keep it to this Melbourne time,
Yeah,
7
7
p.m. Thank you, everybody who's tuned in across the platforms. And so you know, we are working on Rumble.
That's right. So everyone that's watching on Rumble, thank you for joining. Hopefully the stream is actually still working. We're very new to the Rumble space, so
Well, if
hopefully,
it's not, they've really missed a treat.
It was
hopefully
amazing.
we can get the comments in soon. But everyone else who's been commenting and joining in and watching from Melbourne, especially, have a good night. If you're watching from around the world, thank you for joining in. This has been episode 9 of the Opposition Podcast. Somehow, despite Avi not being here, we managed to get it started, which shows you that I should probably just do this without Avi.
I feel like
Benji got his big break. I mean, what are you talking about? A star is born.
Yeah.
A star is born.
I feel like the numbers were better when I wasn't here.
Yeah, it was much better when Benji was on. But yeah, thank you, everyone. And I hope you all have a good night and take care from anyone from around the world. Thank you. Bye.